The cloud of corruption over Downing Street has today been replaced by a fog of deceit. Angela Rayner was refusing to reveal exactly what type of donation she took. Then, in the last couple of hours or so, it's emerged that both the Labour Deputy Prime Minister and Chancellor Rachel Reeves declared clothing donations as, quote, office support. Reeves received £7,500 from a donor called Juliet Rosenfeld in 4 instalments from January 2023 to May 2024 that was used to pay for clothing, according to people with knowledge of the gifts. They were registered as donations to support the Shadow Chancellor's office. OK, now the latest is that Keir Starmer, Angela Rayner and Rachel Reeves have said that they won't take any more clothing donations. Well, they don't need to, do they? Because they've already been shopping. If you just spent £5 on clothes, you wouldn't need to spend any more either, would you? What about concert tickets, hospitality at the football, holidays to New York? Angela Rayner apparently spent 5 nights in New York at Lord Ali's luxury £2 million apartment. Now, she only declared £1,250 for that, reportedly. Does that add up to you? Maybe it does. It is reasonable to ask whether or not the Prime Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister and the Chancellor of the Exchequer have all tried to deceive us when it comes to their donations. But are they also deceiving the public in other areas? And just at this point, can I alert you to a story that has just landed in the Daily Telegraph, which is the headline, David Lammy's office took £10,000 in donations from a Saudi-supporting PR chief. They also report that Shabana Mahmood, the Justice Secretary, also took a £10,000 donation from a Saudi Arabia backing PR chief. Is that very aligned, do we think, with the Labour Party's values? I'm not sure. But potentially another area where people are looking to deceive the public is this £22 billion black hole. Now, Labour are now refusing to reveal what that black hole is, so they won't tell us exactly what it is. But today it's emerged that Labour have been given a £10 billion boost from the Bank of England. She's got £10 billion more to play with than she thought, OK? So this means, surely, that Rachel Reeves doesn't have to scrap the winter fuel payments for pensioners. But here's another thing that Labour, seemingly, want to hide from us. The result of their own impact assessment into scrapping that winter fuel payment. Now, we know that they did one whilst they were in opposition, and that predicted that around 4,000 elderly people might die. Well, Labour initially claimed that they hadn't done a new one. Starmer even said this: there isn't a report on my desk which somehow we're not showing, that I'm not showing. It's as simple as that. Well, then the Treasury responded to a Freedom of Information request and said that they have done a full internal policy impact assessment, but they're refusing to publish it. Now, one can only assume that the result of this impact assessment is absolutely awful, because otherwise it would be out there, surely. So they don't want to tell us about the donations. They don't want to tell us the truth about the economy, seemingly. They don't want to tell us about their impact assessments. Is this Labour government allergic to being honest? Let's get thoughts from our panel this evening. I'm joined by political consultant Suzanne Evans. I also have columnist and political commentator Patrick O'Flynn and the former Labour Party advisor as well, Matthew Torbert. Suzanne, I'll start with you. When it comes to what we've just seen there about, these donations, etc., and it appears that they might have been trying to be quite deceitful about that.
Patrick, we've had a Labour government for 11 weeks, and it's an absolute swamp, isn't it? There's no doubt about it. I mean, every day, some other piece of cronyism or a kind of abuse of power comes up. Really shocking now, this latest story about David Lammy. We have a foreign secretary who's taking money effectively for a foreign power. He needs to resign. I'm sorry, he needs to resign. And if the Tories were still in power and it was found out that the foreign secretary had done that, they'd be calling for resignations. This is an absolute swamp, everything they're doing. There's a saying that politics is show business for ugly people. But politics isn't show business. This isn't about superstars, taking the loan of a wardrobe from a designer to get publicity and so on and so forth. Politics should be about public service. It's about the greater good of your country. It's not about sponging. It's not about behaving like a superstar on the world stage, swanning around in designer clothes, going to football matches, corporate hospitality, behaving like you're filthy rich and living the life of Riley. I'm absolutely disgusted, and I can't believe in such a short space of time it's this bad.
I mean, trying to declare certain things as like office expenditure or things like that when it's clothes, and then coming out and saying, well, we promise that we won't take any more clothes. As I said before, that's because you've already bought your wardrobe, isn't it? We don't need to have more clothes if we've just spent £5,000 on clothes, surely. So, what about the other stuff? Should they release a statement saying we're just not going to take donations for other things as well? Or is that a bit too far? People need to have the odd day out.
Well, look, I think what we're seeing here is that left-wing politicians in our country, particularly in the Labour Party, are addicted to the idea of their own virtue, right? So it's fine when we do it. They get on their high horse with the so-called evil Tories without once thinking how they look, because they just suppose that they're all virtuous and ethical. So, for instance, Keir Starmer said he thinks most people, in fact, at some point he said everyone would think of what he's doing with his Arsenal executive box and think fair dues. Well, no, they wouldn't.
No, they don't.
No, they wouldn't. And the free clothes. and Keir Starmer is on the Prime Minister's salary. He's also got an enormous public sector pension pending as former Director of Public Prosecutions. He's also been a KC, or as it was, a QC for many years. He is a very wealthy man who will get more wealthy after his term of office is over, which is hopefully soon. They are sleazy. They're just as on the take as Boris Johnson, for instance, ever was, and yet they can't see themselves as other people.
Is it a problem? Is it a problem? Do you think, Matthew, that David Lammy and our Justice Minister as well, Shabana Mahmood, appeared to have taken £10,000 from a Saudi-supporting PR chief?
Politically, it can be seen as a problem. I think the problem with this, and I used to always be worried about people that wish to donate to MPs I worked for, because you don't know what they potentially have written or think. There's only so much you can look up. This guy, supports... He's come out and he said that he's criticised the UK government's previous foreign policy interventions in the Middle East. I think that's probably fair enough as a broad thing. I think we do need to get a little bit of perspective on this. Now, I, hold no candle to Keir Starmer. I've never really been a fan of Keir Starmer. He wasn't my choice for leader. I don't think he's a particularly good leader. However, the idea that this cloud of cronyism or that it's a swamp all of a sudden, I think maybe we have some short memories when we think back to the fact that we had people in high office getting tanked up during the biggest public health crisis this country's seen in over 100 years. The fact that we had the Prime Minister's special advisor, all right, not on as much money,
isn't it?
Not on more money than the Prime Minister at the time, but thought it was OK to drive 60 miles to test his eyes.
Is that why, just quickly on that, is that not maybe why, because of Keir Starmer and co.'s reaction to those things, is that not now why maybe they should quit over this stuff?
I don't think they should quit, but I remember thinking at the time this will come back and bite.
Yeah,
because ultimately people are going to want to try and influence politicians, and they will do that in many such ways, such as clothes, donations. People want to gain influence. So I think other MPs apparently at the time said you've taken this too far.
The problem for this now is it's every day. It's something every day.
It's rank hypocrisy, and stupidity as well. That's the other thing I can't understand about this, are these people who've taken all these gifts so stupid that they've allowed themselves effectively to be blackmailed in that way, or at least open to allegations of blackmail? Because if you accept a gift like that, come on, you've got to think people are going to want something in return. It's stupidity, hypocrisy.
I think
can't believe how daft it is.
The Foreign Secretary taking donations from someone linked to a controversial foreign regime is very, very suspect indeed, and it should never, absolutely never have happened. And the other key thing is that all the freebie stuff has come out when they're doing this policy of removing the winter fuel payment from 90% of pensioners. Any pensioner who's got income of above about £11,500. These are a lot of very modestly stretched people. And Labour was supposed to reduce the cost of energy by £300 a year. It's going, the cap's going up £149, and Ed Miliband is planning all sorts of ludicrously expensive things that will send it up even further.
So just to recap, because I appreciate there's a lot that's just happened because we've had this Lammy and the Justice Minister Jemima Mahmood donations stuff that has landed in the last few minutes. OK, so today Angela Rayner initially was refusing to outline exactly what some of the donations were. Then it turned out that her and Rachel Reeves actually had listed donations for their office, had listed donations of clothes, as donations for their office. Then they came out about that. Then Keir Starmer, the Deputy Prime Minister and the Chancellor have now said, sorry, OK, we won't take any more donations of clothing. Now it's turned out that the Foreign Secretary and the Justice Secretary have both taken 10 grand, it seems, anyway, according to the Daily Telegraph, from a Saudi-backing PR executive, which is quite astonishing. The other aspect of this, Matthew, is this report. Supposedly they've done an impact assessment on the winter fuel payment, right? And we know they did one in opposition, which suggested that around 4,000 people might die as a result of it. They said that they hadn't done one for this. Keir Starmer said he wasn't lying about that. Now it looks as though the Treasury did do one and they're refusing to reveal it. What do we think is going on here? Have they got one, do we think, and they're refusing to reveal it?
If the Treasury have said they have, I assume they have. The point is the Treasury, it answers as part of the civil service. They can't take part in the potential particular...
Should they reveal it then, do you think, or what do you reckon?
Probably not politically, because what it'll probably say is that your grandma and granddad may well freeze at Christmas time, and that's the whole point. I thought it's been... What I would urge, and I have said this since it's been announced, is Rachel Reeves should pull the ultimate rabbit out of a hat at the budget and surprise everybody at the dispatch 100%. Box and go, do you know what? We're a sensible, grown-up government. I have heard you all loud and clear, and we are not going to do this.
I agree with you.
And I think that would be fantastic. Politics would win a lot of plaudits back, and would be
I would agree.
I think, it certainly would be better than not doing that. No?
But I think people see through that. Labour do this all the time. I've certainly seen it in local government. They say, right, we're going to close the library. Oh, no, we're not going to close the library. We've saved the library. And that's how they try and spin it. But this has hit too many people, too hard. Even if they backtrack now, people aren't going to forget this.
No. I think she could have got away with it if she'd set her means-tested limit, say... Every pensioner who pays tax at 40% or above, sorry, we can't afford to give you that at the moment. But to do it for the 90%, or so it's the so-called bottom decile only that are spared, is just horrendously
it's to not reveal things, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like to not reveal the results of an impact assessment, to try, it appears, to try to fudge exactly where that donated money went to, and to try to wriggle out of telling us all a little bit about it. It is that perception of deception.
And I noted I think you quoted Starmer in your intro saying, no report is on my desk or something. It was a classic non-denial denial. That guy is shifty, and I think that's the number one impression most normal people will have got. It's shifty Starmer. You can't believe it.
I probably have to at this point say, I imagine Keir Starmer would deny that he is shifty.
I was going to say, I don't think he's shifty. I think he's a lawyer, and an argument could be made that actually it's the same thing. But the point is, I think genuinely, because he's so loyally, it's the lawyer within him, that he, as far as he's concerned, he hasn't broken any rules. And that's true. He's declared all this and by the rest of it. Now, what he doesn't understand clearly, or those in number 10 and those around him, don't realise the political optics of taking a little bit of money away from grandma and granddad that need it, but looking like to the Joe public that you're raking in 150 grand worth of gifts and presents.
But that's true. And again, it's a good point. Look, again, this is a vitally important thing to say. I know Keir Starmer appeared to be a little bit late declaring, I think, some of the stuff, but that is, in the grand scheme of things, all right, not the end of the world, but it's not ideal. I mean, he had a massive pop at the Tories for doing the same thing, so there is the element of hypocrisy there. It's not like the Labour Party, from what we know at the moment, have consistently been doing things like breaking loads of rules. I think it's more a case of, well, there's the moral question to this, isn't there? And there's the question of whether or not you should be doing this, and the question of hypocrisy as well. The thing that really is getting me, and we simply do not know an answer for this, we're going to have to move on now, unfortunately, but the thing we do not know the answer to about is what have these people been getting for their money? So when it's like Lord Ali, what have they been getting?
Well, we know he got a Downing Street pass, didn't he?
Yeah.
Would another equivalent peer with similar ability who hadn't given loads of money have magically landed himself a Downing Street pass?
So this is the follow-up, isn't it? What's this Saudi PR executive got for his money? Maybe nothing, but we don't know. Anyway, right.